The power of self-efficacy. Good morning. Last time we ended with Maslow's pyramid, a map of what people need in order to grow. But a map isn't a vehicle. Knowing you need to change and knowing what growth even looks like doesn't explain why some people take the first step toward it, and others facing the exact same need never do. Today we ask a more personal, more urgent question. What actually separates someone who tries from someone who gives up before they've even begun? We move into the 1960s and 70s with a Canadian American psychologist named Albert Bandura, working at Stanford University. Bandura had already reshaped psychology once with his famous voodoo doll experiments, demonstrating that children learn behavior simply by observing others. The direct challenging or strict behaviorism's insistence that learning only happens through direct reward and punishment. But Bandura's most influential contribution to personal development came later in 77 when he published his theory of self-efficacy, the belief in one's own capacity to execute behaviors necessary to produce a specific outcome. It was a deceptively simple idea that would go on to reshape education, therapy, sports psychology, and management for decades to come. Bandura's central claim was this: it is not simply your actual skill or knowledge that determines whether you attempt something difficult and persist through setbacks. It is your belief about your own capability to succeed. Two people with identical ability can produce wildly different results purely because one believes they are capable and the other does not. Bandura identified four main sources that build this belief. Mastery experiences: succeeding at something builds the strongest, most durable belief in future success. Vicarious experience: watching someone once similar to you succeed convinces you that you might too. Social persuasion: genuine encouragement from someone you trust can meaningfully shift your belief, echoing Carnegie's insight about sincere appreciation. And psychological and emotional states: how you interpret your own nervousness or excitement before a challenge as either dangerous anxiety or productive energy shapes your belief in that moment. Sociologically, self-efficacy theory explains something crucial about inequality that pure resources-based explanations miss. Access to mastery experiences, positive role models, and genuine encouragement is not distributed equally across society. A child surrounded by successful role models from their own community and adults who genuinely believe in their potential develops radically different self-efficacy than an equally capable child who lacks both. This gave researchers and educators a powerful lens for understanding achievement gaps across class, race, and gender, not as a simple matter of differing raw ability, but as a systemic difference in who gets to see people like themselves succeed and who receives genuine, credible encouragement. It also refined mentorship and representation in media and in institutions as a matter of real psychological consequence, not just symbolic fairness. Psychologically, this theory sits at the very center of what would become known as social cognitive theory, the idea that behavior, environment, and internal belief all continuously shape one another, rather than behavior simply be a passive response to external stimuli, as strict behaviorism has declaimed. Self-efficacy has also become one of the most consistently validated predictors in all of psychology, correlating strongly with academic achievement, career persistence, health behavior change, and even recovery from illness and trauma. It offered something Maslow's more abstract hierarchy didn't: a concrete, buildable mechanism explaining exactly now how belief translates into real behavioral change and precisely which experiences can be engineered to build that belief. But this theory, too, has real limitations. Critics note the risk of tipping into certain form of victim blaming. If self-efficacy is what determines success, it becomes tempting to attribute someone's failure primarily to insufficient self-belief, while quietly ignoring very real structural barriers, discrimination, poverty, lack of opportunity, that no amount of confidence can fully overcome only on its own. There is also well-documented risk of overconfidence, high self-efficacy, and third, from real skill or accurate feedback can lead people to persist in ventures that are generally poor decisions, mistaken unwarranted confidence for a productive belief in their own capability. Belief in yourself, in other words, is necessary but not sufficient and can occasionally become actively harmful without honest self assessment alongside it. So, why does 1977 psychological theory still matter today? Because self efficacy is arguably the invisible engine behind almost the entire modern personal development and coaching industry. Every growth mindset program, every leadership training focused on building confidence before competence, every therapy technique built around small achievable wins designed to build momentum, all of it is built directly on Bandura's mechanism. Whether or not it uses his exact terminology, it also explains something distinctly modern: why online communities built around shared struggle, fitness groups, recovery communities, career change forums work so well. They function as engine of vicarious experience and social persuasion at scale, letting a stranger's visible success quietly recalibrate what feels possible for you, exactly as Bandura's research predicted decades before social media existed. So we've moved from Carnegie's outward scale of connecting with others to Maslow's map of what a person needs to grow, and now to Bandura's mechanism for actually believing that growth is possible in the first place, and acting on that belief despite setbacks. Even a strong, well-earned belief in your own capability doesn't fully explain everything that shapes a fulfilling life. Bandura's model focuses heavily on achieving specific goals and outcomes. It says less about the deeper, often less measurable question of daily well being, how a person actually experiences their moment to moment existence, separate from whether they are succeeding at any particular task. That question belongs to our next chapter, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi and the psychology of flow, where personal development stops being only about achievement and starts being about experience itself. Thank you and see you next time.